We're all ready. Okay, we'll get started here. We'll start off talking about last week's game, and then we'll head into this week's contest. Just normal protocol from the last week's game. As I had said before the game started in last week's press conference, how much talent I thought Incarnate Ward had, and then when I saw him in warm-ups, I was even more impressed looking at some of the size of some of the players that they've been able to get through the transfer portal. Guys that really, big physical, good-looking players across the board on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, the quarterback was really an impressive player, and I thought their receivers were really, really talented receivers. So it definitely was a really good test for us in our first home game. And the first half was a really well-contested, well-fought football game. You could, see that, they obviously were a team that won 12 games last year and was one of the best teams in their division, and this year picked in the top 10, and you could see why it was a good hard fought first half. Ended up at the end of the half getting a good stop right there defensively, and then going into halftime tied up. And so at halftime we knew that first drive was going to be really important for us, so we went out and had a really, really successful first drive of the second half, overcame a couple penalties in that drive, which was big as well, ate up a lot of clock in that drive as well, and got the ball in the end zone with I think like an 8.5 minute drive or whatever it might have been. It was very long, took up a lot of time off the clock, and got us a lead. And then once we had the lead, we could play a little bit differently. Like we had said, we think we're just a much better team when we get play with the lead, because we can be even more aggressive on defense and a little bit more aggressive on offense. Defense, bent and didn't break at all in the second half. They had some drives where they moved the ball, on us. Some in the second half, their run game, we completely shut down the run game in the second half and made them really one-dimensional, which was really important defensively. I just think our defensive line really started to take control of the game, and then offensively, our offensive line took control of the game, and our backs ran so hard, and our quarterback did a really good job of taking what they gave us at times, and he made some really good RPO checks in the run game to hit some touchdowns. The touchdowns that we had in the game in the second half were both RPO off a run game for him, where he made some really good decisions and got the ball out to the receivers. And so that part of our game was really clicking, and we controlled the clock and got two good touchdown drives there rolling in the second half. So just really well played football by the Miners. The things we needed to improve on from that game, I thought I wasn't happy with our special teams play, and we've made some changes to that. As far as our special teams goes, as far as personnel, we need to get some more of our talented players on the field in our special teams. And I wasn't happy with the 10 penalties. I just think we kind of, didn't play the way we needed to play in some situations, and made some mistakes that way. So those are the things, the special teams play, the penalties, we got to clean that up. That's a big emphasis this week. And then we just got to, start faster, right, than what we did last week. Again, let's try to get out to a faster start this week as we get ready for another road game. I do think, I said this after our first road game, I really think that test of a trip to Jacksonville, Alabama, tested our football team in every form or fashion that a road game can test you in, whether it was the trip, the heat, the facilities, all the things we had to deal with, limited locker room space, being intense, the sweating more in the locker room than we did in any practice all year. All those things, I think, made us a better team and got us more tested to travel. And so hopefully all that experience will help us as we travel in our continuing road games, which this is one of them this year for sure. So the test against Northwestern is, again, a Big Ten team that has a lot of physical football players. They're a typical Big Ten football team. When you watch the game against Rutgers, it was just a physical contest from both sides of the ball. Both teams just pounding on each other, and a lot of physical play going on with it. And so we know we got to be ready for that type of football. Anytime you face a Big Ten team, you're going to face a bunch of big, strong, powerful athletes, and that'll be the big test for us with them. They have a transfer quarterback that's a really, really good player. Has had a lot of success in his career. That came in this summer to be with him. They got a running back that's really strong, talented running back that we think is a very hard runner that's had some success, had some injuries there in the past, but had some success. They've got two transfer receivers that are dynamic for them, that are very quick and good athletes at the receiver position. And they got big, strong tight ends that can block and catch the ball coming out of the backfield. So they're going to be definitely a real true test for us from their offense. Defensively, they got a ton of experience back in their front seven. Their two linebackers have started a bunch of games, and one of them had 19 tackles last week. They're both physical, very physical players, good players. Their defensive line, they played about 10 guys in the first game, so they got a lot of depth across the defensive front. And in the secondary, they have a nickel that's a really, really good player for them, and then they got some young safeties and corners, and another corner that's coming back that's an experienced player that's a real physical player as well. So they don't have many weaknesses across the board. They're real fundamentally sound defensively. They play their gaps, and they play them very well, and they're well coached defensively. It's a defensive package that's very proven throughout college football. And so again, it's going to be a big test for us, and we talked about the things we got to improve on to have an opportunity to win this football game. So that's what we're facing this weekend. So I'll open up to questions from there.
Sort of unusual, you're a favorite, they have a long losing streak. Does that kind of change the mentality at all? I mean, what's it like playing a team with a losing streak that long?
Well, it's a team that's really hungry. I know that. They're a very hungry team. I know they play good football, and they're they're very competitive football team that way. They're a new team this year. They got a lot of talent that they brought into the program that they didn't necessarily have last year. So from just watching them play, they're a lot better football team than what they were last season. That's a very, very honest, true assessment of them. They played a Rutgers team that's a lot better than what Rutgers was last year. So I think both the teams have made a lot of improvement in a year's period of time. And so from what I saw, we're not really taking any of that into account, right? They're just a Big Ten football team that's got a lot of good football players on it and can play really high level of football if all those players play to their capabilities.
You guys are actually favored right now to win the game. I know you said in the past you don't pay attention to that, but just, that's not common for a Group of 5 team to go on the road to a Big Ten and be favored. How does maybe that change the mindset for you guys?
To me, I'm looking at the strategies of what it's going to take for us, Colin, to win this football game. And the strategies are is that we have to play really well. That's goes without saying. Our only chance of winning is that we go play really, really good football, because if we don't, they'll beat our pants off. They're good. They're a good football team. And so that's all I'm looking at. I'm just evaluating their talent and their players and what their schemes that they do, and just see how sound of a football team they are. So I'm really just trying to stay locked into our team, getting better at the things that we got to continue to get better at, and getting a road win would be huge, for us, and being a good road team this week would be really important.
If you don't win, it'll be back-to-back wins, something that you only achieved once last season. Why do you think that was? You only managed to do that once last year, and what have you kind of done to try and change that to be able to?
We didn't play well enough on the road last year, right? So that's probably why there wasn't enough consecutive wins. For a team to get on consecutive winning streaks, they have to play well on the road, and that's one of the things that we got to continue to try to improve on. And if you can do that, now all of a sudden, with the blessing that we've had of our road record being so good over the last 3 years, if we can get some road victories, that can really stimulate some longer winning streaks for us.
Just a really efficient performance on Saturday on the offensive side of the ball. It seems like the guys kind of found their mojo. I guess how does that kind of help translate into this week?
Yeah, I think we fed off of our offensive line. We fed off of our, being efficient and real efficient in the passing game. I think somebody told me Gavin's quarterback rating was like 185 or something. It was off the charts, and so that's where we play into his type of game. And so for us, if our O-line can can really take control of the line of scrimmage in a game, it helps us. And so that was the part of the offensive efficiency that I think was really good. We got a lot of pressures and a lot of movement last week, and we blocked the movement really well. And I thought that really, in all honesty, that really helped our run game. The more pressures that we got, the better we were against the pressures. And so that was really a big thing for us to be able to put that on film and do a good job with all of that.
I know you've had a lot of good running backs in the past, but does this feel kind of like the best running back group you've had, or how do you rank them?
Yeah, I really like the 221 backfield of Ronnie and Dion and Q, but Q could never stay healthy, bless his heart, because he was, and I'm paying tribute to him because I thought when we had those three, we had three really talented backfield. I feel like this group can be that or better, kind of showed that Saturday and just needs to continually to keep improving because Torrance and Mike are young, and we know they have the talent, but they're young and they just got to keep improving. But I think between the three of them, if they continue to perform, because they performed really well Saturday, they ran really, really well. They all did some neat stuff. It wasn't like there was just gaping holes for them. They all, Torrance did some really, really good stuff, and then Mike really improved a lot too from week. Mike looked like what we thought Mike was going to be, so I'm really excited about the potential of that group for sure.
Drew coined them Run DMT after the band Run DMC. What do you think of that name? And
Who
do you
did?
like the music
Drew did?
group?
I didn't think about that. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's nice.
Generation.
Do you like their music?
Their music, Run DMT. I really don't know their music that well. sorry to ruin it, but I don't. But I think that's a good job. That's a nice job of coining that. That's good.
So just the whole area of the last Saturday and, the Hall of Fame, honoring the 88 team and all that.
Yeah.
What does that mean to a player to know that first of all, these guys that had such success on that field were going to be there, and, does it amp them up a little more?
Just the 88 team, I think I talked about it some too after the game. It was great getting to see those guys on the field in warm-ups, got to spend some time with them. And I knew a lot of the coaches on that staff, and Larry Hofer was back. And of course, I really have so much respect for Bob Stoll. So really proud of that team. And it was great to have those guys out there. And I'm glad we were able to get a win for them, because some of them hadn't been back in a long time. They hadn't seen the facilities, and they were excited to see the facilities and the changes that have been made since they last got back to UTEP and El Paso. And so we got to talk about the community and how much all of us have enjoyed the community of El Paso. And so having them there and having a great win for them was important for us to be able to do that for them, because some of them don't get back as much as they would like to because their lives don't allow them to.
You all are something like 10-4 when Gavin Hardison completes 60% of his passes.
Yes.
You've talked about completion percentage in the past, but having those receivers step up is going to be a key thing for this week.
Yes.
Who do you hope to step up in the receiving games?
Yeah, I would think we'd be better than 10-4 when he completes 60, because that's what we need to do to be good. I would think we'd even be better, but 10-4 is a really good winning percentage. Jeremiah Ballard has got to step up now to complement the other two guys. We're really looking for him to do that. Justin Clark showed some, helped us some in the game, did some good things. Jeremiah had a better game. And then Amari White right now would be the fifth guy right now in our rotation that he's got so much speed and athleticism. It's just really time for him to show up and get back in there and help us. And then, once Marcus and Lucas get back, those guys will add to it as well. So that's kind of where we sit with the receiver spot. But we need some of those other guys to step up and do some things for us.
Along
For sure.
those lines, I think Gavin Warriors 10 of 13 passing. Do you have like a target? I know obviously you run the ball so well.
Yeah.
You didn't have to throw as much, but do you have
Yes.
anything target for this?
Yeah. I mean, I think when we're humming, at our best rate, depending on how well we're running the ball, it's probably a 65-35 split is where we'd like to be, based on how many plays we get. But that's where I think we're probably, rolling. Now, what happened in the game Saturday is that we just never really had to throw the ball, and there, towards the end of the game, Gavin took the one RPO for a touchdown, or to get us a first down to Schmitty going south. That was a run play that he took it off of, and then when they blitzed us and he threw the touchdown to Schmitty was a run play. But basically, as about halfway through, after we could jump up by 7 points and we started running it again, he could have thrown anything he wanted to, but it was like we really didn't. It was kind of would have been. What if the ball takes a wrong bounce or something, and we turn it over? So the passing game, it was one of those games where the run game opened up the passing game so much that at any time we could have thrown the ball. After you look at it on film, it's like they had 9 guys in the box and still couldn't stop the run game. So it was one of those true things where the run game really sets up the passing game.
Was it an encouraging sign to kind of see, your offense kind of put together a complete performance, regardless that you're facing an FCS team?
Yeah, because I really felt like I was a nervous wreck for that game because I just knew how good they were, right? So I really felt I knew we were going to be challenged to a high level, and so for us to perform like we did and to take control of the game like we did offensively was really a big step for our offense, to be able to do that. Because again, their talent level was, last year I thought their team would have been an upper level team in our conference, and this year I think they're, I doubt there'll be anybody in their conference that'll even give them a run for their money this year. I'll be really surprised if they don't run right through it completely without a loss like they did last year.
And you go from an FCS team to a Power 5 team, and just how does that change things? Does it change things, or just what's the approach?
Yeah, because it's a big step, right? It's going to a Power 5 team. It's going to a Power 5 team that has great tradition, and they've done it. I thought Northwestern's always done a really good job of recruiting, and so they got, like I said, they got good players. And some of the freshman players that played Saturday for their team looked really good. They have some good freshman talent that they brought in this new class. So again, they're just really a talented team. So this will be a big jump for us and a big test for us.
Defensively, they're a lot different than Incarnate Word, aren't they? I mean, how much can you carry over what you did at Incarnate Word?
A lot, Brett. They're a lot. Yeah, schematically, they're very, very similar. Their package, Incarnate Word's package is it's the Baylor, Phil Bennett package of even quarters package that Phil has run everywhere that he's been. And this package is very, very similarly based to that package as far as schematically goes, But the thing that they have there at Northwestern is they got, some big old mooses on the defensive front and some big, strong physical linebackers, as well. So, but the same schematically, it'll be pretty close.
I think through 2 games, just the one turnover, that interception right on the last drive of the game against Incarnate Word, going against a Power 5 team, how important is it to kind of start producing those turnovers, and who do you expect them to come from?
Yeah, this is a game that's going to be really important for us to win the turnover margin. This is a game that we got to not turn the ball over, and this is a game that we definitely need to create some turnovers, and that's going to be really important for us. And if we can do that, as we've talked about, we haven't created enough turnovers for the success that we've had as a football team. If we can start being really good over the last 3 years, we haven't created as many turnovers and still had success. If we can do that, win turnover margins, just imagine the success that we can have. So it's really important for our defense to create more turnovers.
Do you think time of possession coming up against Northwestern, if you keep it at the same level? Because, you guys have a lot.
Yeah, that to us is really important, to hold on to the ball. And this will be a big part of this game, to be able to do that. That's what Rutgers did against Northwestern. Rutgers had 40 minutes of possession time. But in those 40 minutes of possession time, they only had 285 yards. So it wasn't like they just ran roughshod through Northwestern. That's my point, is that they had a lot of snaps and only got 285 yards against them, right? So the yards per play was not super, fantastic to look at when you look at it as a coach. They just kind of were very fortunate and kind of grinded out converted some huge 3rd and 4th down plays, which led to the time of possession. But when you just look at their yards per play and how much actual productivity Rutgers had against Northwestern, it wasn't that impressive of numbers. It was a lot closer game than what the score indicated. So that's why I'm talking about how much of a test it's going to be for us, and it's going to be important for us to try to have really good possession time as well ourselves.
On the defensive side for you all, D-line played well against Incarnate Word. The
Right.
linebacking group saw Tyrese Knight have his career best, and the secondary saw the game-sealing interception. Which position group stuck out to you the most this past week?
The D-line played really, really well. Keenan and Tavita and Praise and Mo and then Kanias and K.D. Johnson and Raekwon Thompson, who we haven't even talked about, but we knew he was going to be one of our top recruits. He played, and he was very, very productive. He caused a holding penalty The one drive where they ended up, 3rd and 20, all the lost yardage plays on that drive were because of Raekwon Thompson doing something inside in the middle. So he really stepped up as a new name in the middle there that did a lot of good things for us in Brighton. So the D-line probably played the best, but it's always hard to say because Tyrese had 16 tackles and he was just everywhere, like he is every Saturday, right? I mean, he's everywhere, right? He's in the backfield, he's in the secondary, he's making plays. So, but all in all, I was really impressed with the way the defensive line played. They did a great job.
But looking at kind of that question earlier, the other side of the ball, your defense. I mean, how different is what Northwestern does? How much?
Oh, okay.
carryover
Yeah,
from-
on that part of it, you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, on that part of it, Brett. Yeah, huge difference, right? As far as Incarnate Word is a Lincoln Riley offense, right? That their offensive coordinator, and they had some really creative, cool Lincoln Riley type of concepts that they did against us, and that's why they had, some success against us in the first half because they did some really creative things. Northwestern has changed their offense, and so this year they will go some tempo, right? They will do some tempo now. They got the quarterback that's had a lot of success at other schools, and so they are trying to put a lot more emphasis into the passing game. But it's, more the traditional concepts of passing, with some really good pass concepts to it more than the spread type of stuff that the USC style offense does. So that's where it's different as far as that part of it. They're more Northwestern's more sophisticated in their pass route concepts.